Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of the show called Behind the Success, where we just do not talk about the success formulas, but we also talk about how people maintain or retain their success. So, in today's episode, we have Anand Rathnam with us, and I am really excited uh, to talk about more about how his life being a stand-up artist, and also to little know about the craft of uh, stand-up, and also how uh, different things work around being the artist. So, uh, really looking forward to it. Firstly, thank you, Anand, for accepting my invite and for being part of the episode.
Oh, no problem, dude. I really enjoy doing this. Thank you so much for having me. Means a lot.
Great. So, my first question to you is more about your early childhood days. And the idea why I'm asking this is because I'd like to know about the initial days and also to understand how exactly the childhood you had.
Oh, the initial days was very simple, dude. It was just a very normal, middle class family. Dad was in the army, mom was a homemaker, and the most usual standard Indian middle class family ever. There was nothing like it was not like, oh my god, they were in utter poverty, and then he rose from the ashes. Nothing like that. And also, I wasn't born with the silver spoon and all that thing. It was just the most average. The 90% of the Indian families that fall into that bracket, I was very much part of that. My dad was, and it also since he was in defense, so we were moving around a lot. So every 3 years, he would be moving to a new place. So that actually was a big part of my childhood. Said it was like it's one of the things that I used to hate the most because you would get enrolled in a school, find friends, make friends, and then my dad is like, do it all over again.
This is
Why
like
don't
you
you?
make friends, you leave friends, and then you repeat.
Exactly. So I have like a lot of friends who are in touch with me on Facebook, but I don't have like really close friends who are like, oh, remember last 10 years, Anand and me have been friends. Like, no, we used to be friends long back. Those kind of friends. So I think that was the only shortcoming if I have to talk about that life. But there was a lot of pros as well. Got to learn the language Hindi. A lot of people. I grew up in Gurgaon, Rajasthan, and places like that. So a lot of impact of that culture that was I was exposed to. I mean, I know I'm a Tamilian, but I did not just grow up in Tamil Nadu. I grew up in a lot of different places. So a lot of culture was like consumed and all these things. So that kind of benefited me in making friends. Like
Right.
if somebody if I met on the way or someone if they have a language problem, I could be the solution. Like I could be like the being an army kid. That's the best thing when you travel. Most cases you're the translator since you know two or three languages, you have to be the translator between a Tamil and a Hindi guy or a Tamil and a Kannada guy. Like, oh, yeah, all these things. So I think that is one of the biggest pros that I've noticed in my childhood. So yeah, other than that, it was a very normal childhood, nothing special. I used to get whooped by my dad. Mom used to like beat the shit out of me. So it was a very simple childhood.
Great. So I have a follow-up question to it because you talked about it. So I'd like to know that uh, either, let's say, your mom or dad, who's been more comic to you in your early days?
It was actually the truth is my mom used to find like I used to be very unfunny when I was a kid. I was not at all funny. So I would do like stupid, I would mimic heroes, and my mom used to laugh at that. So she was the one who was kind of the motivator of being funny. She's like, no matter how bad I am, I will laugh. Like she will laugh, no matter how bad I was. So in that time, motivator was mom, but I think the funny bone was dad. Dad has a great funny bone. Like he will find humor in the most disgusting places. Like like normally people would be like, "Ew," and he'll be like finding it funny. And me and my dad used to bond over that, and my mom used to get disgusted. So I think that's where it started from the desire to find comedy in places where there is no humor.
Right. So since I also did a little research on you, and I realized that you come from a civil engineering background, and then you left that and you came here. So just would like to know that what was that transition, and what was the motivation behind getting into uh, the field of the stand-up circuit?
There was no like in the sense was I never wanted to be a comedian since I was a kid. It's never like it was oh my god, when I was 13 only I realized my dream. I completely wanted to be someone else. I wanted to get in the armed forces. That was my dream. And when that didn't happen because of different reasons, which I've already spoken about in some videos, I don't want to bring it up again. So like that didn't happen. Then I had done civil engineering. The reason why I did civil engineering was also for army. Was because when you do a engineering graduate, there are more entries for you in the army. That was the reason why I did engineering. It was not like a, oh, mujhe ek din engineer banna hai. Even that was not the desire. So I did engineering. Then I just took up a normal civil engineering job. I didn't like it that much. It's not even like I hated it. I didn't even like it. It was a very monotonous kind of job that I was okay with getting, low pay, all that thing. And comedy happened because I was just, once you get drunk and you're not feeling sleepy and all your friends pass out, you're just sitting on your, like, lying down on your bed scrolling through YouTube, and just like saw a bunch of stand-up videos in India. Like I had seen Russell Peters when I was in college, so I always was fond of stand-up comedy. Then when I after college and I was working, I came across Kannan's pretentious movie reviews, and Zakir Khan some videos, Sandeep Rao, Sanjay Manaktala. These guys they started comedy long back. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, there is the comedy scene in India. People can become a comedian. Normally, the reason why I never thought of becoming a comedian was because it was thought it's a profession only for the Americans. Comedy only exists in the America. It doesn't exist in India. So when I saw Veer Das and all these guys, oh, there is a scene here. And it started out like just a hobby, man. I want to do this like a bucket list. That's how it started. I went there, I signed up, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to get up on stage and tell jokes. And once I told jokes and it failed miserably, I kind of like the feeling. I don't know why. It's just stuck on through that. So that was the entire journey of it. Was not like a one day revelation. Oh, this is what I was born to do. It was a set of events that led to where I am right now, I would say.
All right. So I'll hold this conversation. I'll come back to this. But before that, I have another curious question, and which is more about. I would like to know the journey of a joke, because a lot of times, I mean, what I'm trying to ask is that I would like to know that how what's the journey and how a joke travels across.
Uh, See, it's every joke. There are certain standard set of rules that a joke has to go through before they decide. Before we decide what a joke is gonna become. It's like a simplest way to put this forward is like a premise, setup, punchline. This is the most simplest form of a joke. When you write a premise, there's a setup which is a misdirection, and then a punchline is a surprise or a reveal. Now, when you think of a premise, there are different types. One is an observational, one is anecdotal, and all these things falls into different categories. Now, the initial 4 years or something or 5 years of your life, you will spend in figuring out which genre your observation fits in. Some can be like disgusting comedy, something is like clean comedy. All these things are types of comedy. Now, what I'm trying to say is when you say a journey of a joke, the whole point starts from one observation. It starts from one observation about something happened to you. That's the crux of the joke. Now, from there, for example, I don't know if you've seen my last video, the beggar ruined my date.
No, I think I haven't seen that.
Okay. Okay, fine. I'll give you another example.
I've seen a couple of your videos on Instagram lately.
So yeah, okay, fine. Have you seen the marriage is a scam video?
Not that one as well.
The green shirt. No,
Uh,
you haven't seen this. Okay, which one have you seen? Tell me. Which one have you seen?
just
You can
quickly.
tell me. I would try to like to break it down into the. Okay, fine. I'll try to. Marriage is a scam. There's a joke. Okay, where I say I get a call from one of my seventh standard school friend after 13 years. Okay, now the whole idea was this is the observation of the joke. The whole joke happened was this guy called me, and that's just a setup. This is not even a joke has not started. I'm just setting up the premises of the joke where I'm gonna now fiddle around. Now the main conflict happens when he tells that he is missing the school days because you know what the things we used to do in school days, like have samosa and chai, bunk classes. Now my joke is I still do that. So that is the main conflict arises between me and him, how we both are not relating to each other, and that is the humor. Something that is so normal for him is so big for me. So when you draw that parallel, it's not a surprise yet, but it's like it's revealed in the sense like his pain is like someone's nostalgia is his presence. That's the whole like line I'm trying to draw.
Right.
So once you get to that, that is where the joke starts. So it's not like the first line could be a joke. The first line, I'm just setting up the premise. The joke starts when I say ki when he told me this, I still have chai and samosa. And now from here, where do I build on to it? Some people, like normally what would happen if you're a one-liner comic, you would leave the joke here. It's like, that's it, full stop, move on to the next premise. But I'm a storytelling kind of comic. And or also opinionated, I would say. Like, have some opinions here and there. Now from here, how do you build on to having this structure to into a full-fledged act? What is my opinion with this kind of call? Like, my opinion comes out is, it's great feeling talking to your old school friends unless they have made it in life. So that's another opinion comes out.
Right. Right.
So this happens. And then I think it just kind of builds on. So once you build the scene like that, it kind of makes sense for everyone. So the journey of a joke happens is like, first you set up the premise of the whole setting of your where the joke's going to happen. Now the thing is, when you're setting up the premise, always know that don't put all four walls in all directions. Try to be open to it, because there will be a point where you have to break down a wall and exaggerate the premise so that you can build a joke on it. Exaggerate, tell a whole story, like what Zakir does. Primarily, he's like, or Bassi does. They tell you a story, tuck, 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 tuck. But mine is a little different. It's like the joke starts from a particular place. It's a common conflict, and that's where the journey starts of the joke. It starts literally.
Right. That's very interesting to know, because a lot of times people see that, okay, I would say during the early days, we were really encouraged to uh, tell jokes. And now, once we grow up, people change their perspectives around it. So I would say thank you for sharing that, because it actually gave me a lot of perspectives also about the different aspects of stand-up, and also the different ways of building jokes as well. From here, I would actually now would like to go into the execution aspect, and this is coming from one of your video I've seen, where I remember you're asking someone from the audience which year they are in, right? And the person answers, and this also I would just like to share with our listeners, that I am assuming that you're trying to answer because you felt that the person is a student and you're trying to know which school or which college, but the person replied 2021. So now what I'm trying to know here is that a lot of times I believe you have to handle people who try to heckle you, or who are trying to act like hecklers during the show. And uh, and I'm sure being there, performing, being vulnerable, uh, it also affects a lot on the confidence and also the upcoming body language. So would like to know that how you handle situations like this.
Uh, See, that whole scenario happened was there are different kinds of hecklers, and you can always tell through by the way they're heckling. Like, imagine if you see like a 28-year-old drunk guy just heckling, and he's just trying to hitting on the girl next to him. This guy wants to ruin the show. He doesn't want you to be funny because he's hitting on the girl. Like, this is a general scenario I'm giving. So no matter what you tell him, he's gonna try to come back with a better reply. He's gonna try. He doesn't want you to win. It's not about funny anymore. I want to ruin the show for you so that I get the girl. It's like more like that. Now, in those cases, you have to shit on them. You have to make it little ugly. You have to make it a bit ugly, because he needs to know that you're not backing off. So, like, so in that cases, I would be in a situation where I'm like, man, I gotta take this guy down, because otherwise this show is gonna go bad. If I let this guy keep winning, nobody's gonna enjoy. So at that time, you take a hit for the team. You're like, yo, man, can you shut the fuck up? We're trying to run a show here. I know you want to get these girls. Let me tell you a truth, you're not gonna get. I've been in this scenario way before you, bro. This is not gonna happen. Please give up right now. You'll have some self-respect. When you say lines like that, you suddenly win the audience on your side. I'm not like shitting on him. I'm trying to kind of win him up. Please don't give this, bro. All that thing. Now in that show, I couldn't have done that, because these were 20-year-old kids. They were not. They said they didn't want to ruin the show. They wanted a participative heckling. They're like, we want to be part of the show. So you can't shit on them. They'll take offense. They're like, hey, I just wanted to be part of the show. So over that is what you do is you shit on them using one of their friends. So they feel, oh, my friend is burning me. That's fine. So if you listen to the joke I said about the Gayatri, even if he asks you out, don't say yes because he'll ruin. So all these jokes happen. It's not like I am doing anything bad. I'm telling Gayatri not to give this guy a chance. So now he feels like it's a collective burning. So he's fine. I'm not singling him out and roasting him. I'm putting him in a group and then roasting him. So he does not feel weird. So that thing, what you understand, and that thing comes with more time, like more the more crowd work you do, or more human emotion you understand in an argument. Sometimes people want to have fun, sometimes people want to put you down. And once you find that difference between that thin line, you can understand how to deal with them. So when someone wants to just put you down, you stand up. You're like, hey, man, can you calm down? But someone wants to have fun, it's okay. Let them burn you. It's okay. It's like we're friends. You burn me, then I'll burn you. The show will become better. That is how you approach crowd work in general. If someone wants to approach crowd work.
That's really lovely. I mean, I actually got a very different perspective because I've been to a couple of shows, and I would say that I've seen both kind of people being in the audience. And now from here, because since I believe you talked about that all this wisdom comes through experience of handling audience and also being around with them. Now since a year and a half, the things has been changing and we are going virtual. I've seen you performing virtual. I've seen, let's say, Abhishek Upmanyu and others also performing virtual now. So I would like to know, uh, what is this transition shift in terms of uh, the overall preparations which goes to, or do you feel that there is an extra pressure, or things are changing a little? What is your take on that?
There is not an extra pressure. I think there is extra. There are like, see, the whole thing is stand-up show, right? When you look at a stand-up show as a comedian, I'm telling you, there are so many factors in a comedy show that can ruin the comedy show. From as simple as the mic not working, the audio too low, there is a lighting problem, there is some AC sound that is audience can hear it, someone heckling, someone drunk, someone murmuring, someone falling down, a beer glass falling down. There are so many factors that can ruin a comedy show. That can. Now the thing is, when you put it in Zoom, there are fucking 10 times more factors now. It's like it's like someone's internet, your internet. You can't do actors because only half of your body is seen. Someone can do a comment and run away. He can just put himself on mute, and it's like, so it's like, as a comedian, I would say frankly, don't take this the wrong way, audience, but we hate Zoom shows or like online shows. These are literally the worst. But it's like the new normal. It's like this is what we have to deal with right now. So you're like, just swallowing up our pride and doing it. That's the entire truth. But the whole perspective is the it's not transitioning at all, because as soon as the pandemic gets over, everyone's gonna be back. They are just This is just like a vacation period until live shows start. There will never be a transition where this is the only thing we're gonna do until they say this pandemic is gonna be there for the next 10 years. If they say that, then we are screwed. Then we are like, yo man, I'm just sitting at home. But unless and until they don't say that, this is just a vacation period for just people waiting to kickstart or kickstart their businesses again, or live shows.
That's true. And I really like the comparison with vacation because that's what it feels like. And I'm sure a lot of people are actually looking forward to the coming time. Uh, now, since, and this is not something related to you being only, I mean, only the genre you're working in, but then I feel it's very common between the entire artist industry in general. So I'd like to know that, coming on the financial side, and I'm not trying to understand that how much you earn, but my question is more about being part of the startup circuit as a being part of the stand-up circuit and being the artist. I would like to know that, is it a good paying profession for someone who would like to get into it?
Uh, Not right now. I wouldn't
Hmm.
say that. Like, if you want to start now, I would ask you to not quit your job, hold on to the job, and just at least until the pandemic gets over. Because right now, see, it's not about the payment. Uh, any artist can get paid if he's qualified. Now the whole thing is the skill. If you start today, it's a given that you do not have the requisite skills to do a corporate show. You do not. It's not your fault. You just do not have the experience. Now that builds over time. So if you start now, since there are no open mics happening in the country, very few live open mics are happening anywhere. So there is literally no place for you to try out live stand-up. How if you don't have a place to try out live stand-up, how do you grow as a comic? So if you're starting now, I would say hold on to your seat. Just ride this wave and then start. And coming back to this thing, comedy is a paying profession. Yes, yes, definitely it is. It's a very well paying profession. Not me. I mean, like I know the successful guys. I've heard them talking about how much they get paid. So there is money. Don't worry about that. There is a lot of money, but that's something. It's again like it happens on like it's a process. Like I know there are some comics who for them it will happen overnight, but you can't take them because they're exceptions. They're really exceptions. So what you like when you take out 100 comics, 5 comics or not even 5, 3 comics will make it overnight. Out of that, 30 comics will never make it. This is just I'm telling stats. 30 comics will never make it. They'll quit comedy. They'll go back to their day job. They're not as funny. They'll give up. They'll get married. They'll have kids. 30 comics. Now 30 plus 3, 33, and the rest is 67. Now the rest 67 comics fall in the general category. All of them will make it if they put their heart through, but they will make it at different points of their life. Like, some will make it 35, some are 37, 39, but they will make it because they will put their heart. Like, it's not like this guy who hasn't made it will quit at 35. The guy who has made it will quit at 30. It's nothing like that. These guys are just going to do comedy. They're not going to get that much paid well. They're not going to make like 40 or 50 crores a month. No, that's not happening a year. So what they'll be making is a genuinely decent salary through corporate shows, through family shows, through, Zoom shows, all these things. But just be focused that you fall into that 67%. Just don't think that you're part of the 3% because mostly you're not. Because the people who are those 3%, even they don't know they are those 3%. It's like the Indian audience decides, this guy is an overnight success. 30, don't fall into the 30. It's very easy. Just stay in the game, put your head down, write comedy, and make sure you fall in that 67%. And sooner or later, somewhere down the road, someone will open the door for you.
That's lovely to know. And in fact, I would just like to share with you in one of my episode. So I had a friend who is also an athlete, and he was talking about. Um, we're talking about the idea of the consistency and persistence, and where he talked about that for him, his idea is not to run every day. His idea is to start the run every day, and he also talked about understanding that uh, someone's first day is going to be extremely different. I mean, you can't compare your first day to his 1,000 days. So people who are already established in the industry, I'm sure they have also seen a lot of things, and so the idea is just to hang in there and just figure out. Now, since you talked about that, it is not the good idea for people to get into stand up considering the pandemic. Would like to know that does it also ever happen to you or ever crossed your mind that you wanted to again quit this or let's say go back to the corporate job or something like that? Ever happened to you?
Every day.
How do you
Every
handle that?
day. You just sleep on it and get next morning, just shake it off and then go back to work. That's a more question of an insecurity kind of angle. Okay, it's like everybody has it because I've been doing this comedy shit for 6 years now. So it's a very simple thing. Like parents ask you where is this going. Your girlfriend asks you, oh, man, I want to tell about us at home, but you don't have a job. I want to settle down here, but with your career we can't do this. You might have to take up a job. You see a friend of you making it or he gets a deal, you're like, fuck man, what am I doing? Maybe this is not for me. So it's the question that you asked roots from there. So if you can handle your insecurities and keep them at bay, you're pretty much sorted. Like I know everybody has a problem. Everybody has to deal with some shit.
Right.
Everybody has like some kind of things that telling them you should quit and go back to your day job. The only thing that's telling you to do comedy is your mindset. Once you realize that, there is literally nobody who comes. Maybe your friends are there who will come and tell you, Macha, I believe in you, dude. No, dude, I think you're very funny. You should continue comedy. That's true. That everybody gets. They have 1 or 2 friends who motivate them. But at the end of the night, when you go back to sleep, it's like that thought that I want to make it in comedy. You're the only person who has that thought. literally not even your parents want you to make it in comedy when they're going to sleep.
Hmm.
Maybe they're like, oh, I hope he figures it out. So that whole thing is like, how do you deal with that? Oh my God, go back. It's insecurity speaking at loud volume, full volume. And I think being in comedy for 6 years, I dealt with those insecurities quite long enough. Now the insecurities are tired too. They are like, man, he doesn't listen, so let's not talk. So I have bored everyone in my life, including my insecurity.
I completely agree on that aspect. And you actually brought a very interesting perspective because being an entrepreneur, I also feel that a lot of times uh, people around you and the insecurities you have about life and all of that really uh, try to suppress you, try to distract you. But then if you
Yeah,
handle your distractions well, I think there's nothing, I mean, just you
just
just need
don't
to
look at them.
focus, focus, and focus.
Just don't look at them. The distractions are like hot girls. They're not gonna. They're just you know, they want your attention. They're jumping in front of you. By the moment you don't care, they're like, oh my God, who is this guy? It's
That's
like that.
lovely, lovely example. So now I have two more questions, and then we can go to the second segment. The one important one is, for example, let's say I would like to write a show, or I would like to, let's say, do a performance, being honest, and I just want to do it once, let's say. So now I'd
Mhm.
like to know that how people like me can learn the craft or can do it because they also just want to, let's say, uh, I mean, uh, check the bucket list, or you can say the idea is just to check out their confidence or just to face the audience. So, what is your suggestion to them? How they can prepare?
It's very simple. It's like if it's a bucket list thing. Just go to a bunch of open mics, three or four, see what they do, like, and understand the vibe of an open mic, how it happens, and then start penning down observations that you think might be funny. You might not find them funny later. Sometimes you might forget about them. So when you start thinking about some observation which is funny to you, just make a note of it in a piece of paper or a piece of notebook that you don't lose. Prepare and then try to work out a 4 or 5 minute set, where you talk about it and your opinions, try to make it funny and watch a lot of comedy. That's the only way to do this. It's like it's like a mimicry artist. Like, the more we observe, the more we learn about the beats and the punctuations or the throw of the someone's voice. It's the comedy similar. Once you watch a lot of comedians, you understand what's punchline, you understand what's a tag, you understand what's a flip, you understand all the technicality in practical, rather than reading a book like Comedy Bible or something where they explain what is the punchline. Watch a lot of comedians, like watch Bill Burr, watch Louis C.K., watch Michelle Wolf. These guys are very funny, and you can understand what comedy is by watching them. So if you do that for a week or two, you'll get a basic understanding of comedy is, and then I think if you go up on stage, I'm not saying you're gonna have a great night, but you'll have a average to above average kind of night.
Perfect. So, thank you for that. And before we go into the last segment, my quick question to you is that what are your future plans? Is there anything exciting coming up, or we should be open about looking something new or exciting lying around?
As much I want to break your heart, nothing, man. Absolutely nothing. The pandemic is winning right now. The virus is
Right.
winning. All I'm hoping was me and another comic named Naveen Kumar were planning to do the underrated tour all across India. We did the South Indian market up to a certain extent. We did like 11 cities. This was before the second wave. Now we're planning to do the North Indian and the Eastern, uh, India. But and now the problem is the pandemic is at peak, so we're planning to hold it out for another 2 months and then decide. So yeah, guys, my only plan is to find the vaccine. If somebody can do that, I'm just like happy to do so. That's the only thing right now. There's nothing to look forward to as such. Just keep doing open mics and comedy.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. I'm definitely looking forward. If you are, by any chance, if you plan to be in Jaipur or to do a show in NCR, which is little accessible for me, and thank you for being part of it. And now I would like to go into the second segment called Spotlight, where
Okay.
both you and I will be sharing a recommendation with our listeners. Uh, for me, I think. This something I lately understood that uh, and in very common ways when we talk about, let's say, the comedy, I see that they just lie around us, and it's a part of our daily lives. And one recently show I really enjoyed was by Abhishek Upmanyu on Team Animals, because I do have a cat, so it was very relatable for me, and I was able to understand the situations and uh, the possible scenarios around. So that's my recommendation. If you have a pet and if you want to also have a like 20-25 minutes fun, you can definitely check out this video on YouTube. What is
Oh,
your
that's
recommendation,
actually
Anand?
very funny. That's very funny. So what should I recommend? Do you want me to recommend a comedy video?
It could be anything. I
Oh, it
chose
could be
the
anything.
genre because I thought that since we have been talking about comedy, and I also see my cat roaming around in my legs, so I thought that maybe.
Yeah. They include me in this podcast. I also want to be part of it. I don't want to recommend anything comedy because I think it's too heavy right now. We spoke so much about comedy.
Right.
So I like this crime thrillers and stuff like that. So detective cases, all these things I like. So if you want to watch a movie, it's on Hotstar. It's called Three Billboards at Ebbing, Missouri. It's a very weird name for a movie. It's a very weird name for a movie. Three Billboards at Ebbing, Missouri. It's I saw this movie recently. Very funny. Very the dark comedy, dark humor, and some scenes are written very well and very famous. A lot of famous guys are there. Like Peter Dinklage is there in this movie. The Game of Thrones, Tyrion Lannister. So I would recommend that movie for people to watch it because it's a little long movie though, 1.5 hours I think, 1.5 hours. But it's a nice movie. Check it out.
Thank you for sharing that. And in fact, I do like crime thrillers as well, so I'll check it out personally as well. Thank you,
Awesome.
Anand, for taking time and for being part of this. Just for the listeners, I had the privilege to meet Anand back in 2020 early, just before the pandemic in Bangalore. We spoke on the same TEDx platform. And since then, I've been following his work. You can check out his YouTube channel as well, and you'll find a lot of interesting videos. Thank you once again, and I'm really looking
Thank you.
forward to see more shows in future.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.